She really saw herself as a drummer. Is that right? What a surprise to me. She sang so well, didn't she? She did, but over the years I'd heard that Bing Crosby always saw himself as a singer who played golf. Karen, because she loved to sing so much, it was clearly in her genes. The beautiful air and the voice of an angel. But there is a terrible truth behind the stage lights that not many people know. Karen Carpenter didn't just have a life full of amazing success, but also a tragedy of being alone and the stresses that she didn't know about that slowly broke her down. There have been rumors for years about tense family ties, strict rules, and shocking secrets. Finally, her brother Richard Carpenter, who has been with her all her life, broke his quiet and said what really happened behind the scenes. It's a little close because it brought out the best in Karen, me, my organizing skills, and everyone else. Karen Carpenter was born in New Haven, Connecticut on March 2, 1950. Richard, her brother, was born on October 15, 1946, 4 years before her. Not only did Agnes Royer and Harold Bertram Carpenter not care about each other, they also didn't care much about their kids. It was clear that Agnes liked Richard more than Karen, which made Karen feel like she was just a shadow in the family. In contrast to his wife, their father loved music very much. He had a huge collection of records that included rock, pop, soul, jazz, and classical music. This musical treasure had a big impact on both of his brothers. Besides that, he told them they should start learning music early. Richard was very talented from a young age. He started out playing the organ and quickly learned how to play the piano. Karen, on the other hand, wasn't very interested in singing and would rather just listen to music. It wasn't until Karen was a teenager that she slowly found her love for singing and playing musical instruments. Even though they fought like siblings sometimes, they stayed close. Karen was active and loved playing baseball with the kids in the neighborhood. She was often picked for teams before Richard, which annoyed him sometimes. There was more evidence of Agnes's favoritism. She always stood up for Richard when he was mad, but she was always yelling at Karen. It was like she was to blame for everything. His music skills were really great by the time Richard was 16. In 1963, the family moved to Southern California, where the music business was booming, because they thought their son could make it as a professional musician. Karen didn't want to leave her friends, but she couldn't stop her parents from making the choice. All of their dreams were on Richard's job. Richard started playing in clubs after they moved. He would sometimes even lie about his age, because he wasn't old enough to do so. At the same time, Karen wanted to skip gym class, so she joined the school band by mistake. It was there that she discovered her love for playing the drums. Richard Carpenter started the Richard Carpenter Trio in 1965. Karen played drums and Wes Jacobs, a friend from school, played bass. Even though there were a lot of heated fights, Richard wouldn't put Karen's name in the band's name. Still, the trio quickly became famous in the local music scene for their captivating shows, which included both covers of popular songs and Richard's own original songs. In 1966, they won a big music contest in California and got a deal with RCA Records. This was their first big break. It was still not a good time for them. Their soft jazz style couldn't keep up with the rock wave that was taking over the country. Not long after, RCA broke the deal, causing the group to break up. Even though things went wrong, Richard didn't give up, so he put together a new group called Spectrum that focuses on singing harmonies. Even so, luck wasn't on their side, and Spectrum quickly became forgotten. Still, Richard found something very important during this time. Karen can do more than just play the drums well. Her voice was beautiful and crystal clear. Richard talked Karen into being the star singer because he thought that was the key to success. Karen, who was 17 years old at the time, weighed 143 pounds, which is about 65 kilograms. This was a bit heavier than what people thought was beautiful at the time. She got a lot of praise after going on a diet and losing about 11 pounds 5 kilograms. This made her obsessed with controlling her weight. In early 1969, they finally got the chance they had been waiting for. A record company got a demo tape of the brothers from a friend. Soon after, the famous musician and co-founder of AANDM Records, Herb Alpert, fell in love with Karen's voice. He gave them a deal right away. Karen wasn't old enough to sign on her own, so her parents had to do it. The Carpenters' first record, Offering, came out on October 9, 1969. Richard sang lead on most of the songs on the album. Despite this, the record didn't do well, which made AANDM executives doubt the duo's abilities. Even though he was told to drop them, Herb Alpert stuck by his backing. By not giving up, they made it possible for one of the most famous music groups in history to become famous. From the start of their career to the height of their fame, aside from being a great director, Herb Alpert also set the Carpenters on the path to their huge success. He was married to singer Lonnie Hall, who was famous for singing sweet duets with Camille Sesto on songs like Corazon and Katanas. But Alpert may have left the Carpenters with the most important gift, the song that would change their lives. They wanted to be close to you. Big names like Richard Chamberlain, Dionne Warwick, Dusty Springfield, and even Herb Alpert had sung the song before that. Surprisingly, none of them had much luck with it. He was right when he said that Karen and Richard could make a difference. The brothers were hesitant at first, but they decided to give it a try. Close to You was publicly released on May 14, 1970, and it became a huge hit right away across the country. The song sold 3 million copies in 6 months, and on July 25, 1970, it went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, becoming their first big hit. Success came after success. While watching a wedding ad on TV in late 1970, Richard heard a short tune that gave him a new idea. 3 months after the success of Close to You, he wrote We've Only Just Begun, a song about a new start in a relationship based on that short tune. When the new song came out on August 21, 1970, it made a lot of noise. We've Only Just Begun shot up to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 very quickly. Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel is the only better song. They won 2 top Grammy Awards in 1971 for the song, which also sold 1 million copies. In just 1 year, the Carpenters went from being unknown artists to a worldwide hit with rising fame and wealth. Both of their hits were on their second record, Close to You, which came out in late August 1970. The record became a hit right away, making the Carpenters even more famous A-list star. Not stopping there, Karen put out For All We Know on January 15, 1970. Many people were moved by the song again, and it made it to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. As their popularity grew, the Carpenters kept topping the charts with more hit songs. They put out Rainy Days and Mondays on April 23, 1971, and it went straight to number 2. Soon after, the emotionally charged song Superstar also got to number 2, which made their place in fans' hearts even stronger. Both songs were on The Carpenters, their third album, which came out on May 14, 1971. It was the first record to feature the band's famous logo, which would later become a clear sign of the Carpenters. Karen had the most beautiful voice in the group, but she decided to sit behind the drums during performances, while Richard and the other musicians stood in front of the crowd. This acting style, on the other hand, was criticized. Around the beginning of 1971, fans and the media finally got Richard to agree to let Karen steal the show, which was her right. From then on, Karen was an unbeatable star, and her talent slowly made Richard's part less important. Things got really good for them on June 19, 1972, when the Carpenters released the song Goodbye to Love. It became a huge hit and changed the way music was made. Richard's unique fuzz guitar solo, which was a bold and uncommon method at the time, was the best part of the song. Goodbye to Love was known as the first power ballad because of this groundbreaking performance, which paved the way for future song styles. They put out their fourth record, A Song for You, in June 1972. The song was on it. Hurting Each Other, which peaked at number 2, It's Gonna Take Some Time, which made it to number 12, and most importantly, Top of the World, which put the Carpenters back at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 chart, were more big hits from the album. Their fame spread to the political world. The Carpenters were invited by President Richard Nixon to perform at the White House on August 1, 1972. This was a big time in their career. They were the perfect example of the American dream on stage. But behind the bright lights, the Carpenters' lives were not at all easy or perfect, like the love songs they sang. Tragedy behind the curtain. Richard Carpenter started using methicillone, a legal sedative in the US at the time, to deal with his severe insomnia. But addiction set in faster than he thought it would, and Richard was sucked into a never-ending downhill spiral. In later years, the movie The Wolf of Wall Street would use this drug as a stark example of how bad its effects are. Richard had a hard time with his addiction, and Karen Carpenter became concerned with her weight. It all started with a story that said she looked a little overweight and showed a picture of her that made her flaws look very bad. Karen's mind was greatly hurt by those words, which made her lose her weight in an extreme and dangerous way. Richard never stopped working, even though he was addicted. He put everything he had into music because he thought that if they focused on Karen's ability, they could get through anything. His hard work paid off. The Carpenters' dominance on the charts was further solidified when the record Now and Then came out on May 1, 1973. Even though their job was going great, Karen's health started to get worse. It was 1974, and she had lost a lot of weight, getting down to just 99 pounds, which is 45 kilograms. She hid food in secret, abused laxatives, and became more and more obsessed with her subject. She used to be a very active and healthy young woman, but she became incredibly thin and weak. Karen lied about her own problems, while she pushed her brother to get help. She claimed that the only reason she had lost weight was because she was stressed. The truth is that things were much worse. At the time, Karen had anorexia nervosa, which was a dangerous eating disease that not many people understood. She hid her thin body by wearing a lot of clothes when she went out in public. Karen looked beautiful on stage, but few people knew that her health was getting worse behind the scenes. Even though her situation kept getting worse, the Carpenters kept going. Horizon, their sixth record, came out on June 6, 1975. At the same time, rumors started to spread. Many people thought Karen was sick with cancer because she looked so thin. Karen started taking ipecac syrup, a drug that makes you throw up, in a frantic attempt to keep her weight down. This made her already weak body even worse. Still, her family didn't know how much she was really hurting. Through 1975, the Carpenters' fame began to fade. Their seventh record, A Kind of Hush, which came out on June 11, 1976, did not live up to the hype. Still, with over 150 million songs sold around the world, they had already made an indelible mark on the music world. Karen Carpenter had a beautiful, haunting, and deeply moving voice that was hailed as one of the best female sounds of all time. She left a lasting mark on the music business. Even though Karen met a lot of famous people, fame could not fill the hole in her heart. She never really fell in love. Then in the early 1980s, she met construction worker Thomas James Burris, who was 9 years older than her. When they met at a fancy diner, Burris's confidence and charm won Karen over. He had a smooth exterior, but there was a terrible truth inside. Burris had a lot of debt, and was looking for a way to get out of it. Karen was emotionally weak, so she quickly fell in love with Burris after a short courtship. They were going to get married at the Crystal Room in the Beverly Hills Hotel on August 31, 1980. At age 30, she thought she had finally found the loving home with kids she had always wanted. But her dreams were dashed just days before the wedding. Burris told her in a cold voice that he had a vasectomy and could no longer have children. Karen was so upset that she wanted to stop the wedding, but her mother insisted that it was too late because the invitations had already been sent and family plans had been made. She got married because she really wanted her mother to approve, even though it would cost her a lot. Burris showed what he really thought after the wedding. He wasted Karen's money badly, buying expensive things that didn't need to be bought. Even worse, he abused her physically and emotionally, making her life a living hell. Within a year, Karen could take it no longer and filed for divorce, but the mental scars were still there. Even though her health was getting worse, Karen kept trying to lose weight. She took more laxatives, sometimes as many as 90 pills a night, and she also abused thyroid medicine to speed up her metabolism. She tried to keep her body under control, but it got worse and worse, until she couldn't. Karen's situation could no longer be hidden. By 1981, she knew she needed help. She went to a professional for help. She went to New York to see Stephen Levincron, a top expert in eating disorders, even though her family told her not to. Things looked like they were getting better for a while, but just when hope started to shine through, sadness crept up behind them. It was the angel with a broken heart who told Richard the truth. Karen Carpenter's last few months were a painful battle between shaky hope and harsh reality. Anorexia nervosa had been bothering her for years, so she went to see Dr. Stephen Levincron for help. Because Levincron knew Karen's situation was getting worse, she set up family therapy with her brother Richard and their mother Agnes. During the session, he stressed that Karen needed more than just medical care. She also needed love and support from her family. Richard tried to show how much he cared for his sister by talking about his worries. But what hurt Karen the most was that her mother, the person she had always wanted to love and recognize, was being cold to hers. Karen's heart was already weak, and Agnes' silence hurt it even more. Karen was taken to Lenox Hill Hospital in New York in September 1982 because her health was getting very bad. Doctors there chose to start intravenous nutrition therapy to help her quickly gain weight, but this action that saved lives had a terrible price. Karen's body could no longer handle the stress of quickly gaining weight after years of being worn out from her irregular eating habits. Her heart got so weak that it was like a time bomb that could go off at any second. Karen kept working at her job, even though she was in a lot of physical and mental pain. She gave her last act on December 17, 1982, in the multi-purpose room at Buckley School in Sherman Oaks, California. No one there that day knew they were seeing one of the greatest sounds of all time lose its shine. Last but not least, tragedy struck early on February 4, 1983. When Agnes went into her room, she was shocked to see Karen lying on the floor, unconscious. Even though she was rushed to the hospital, nothing could be done to save her. Her heart was no longer beating. She was only 32 years old. In 1989, 6 years later, CBS made a movie based on Karen Carpenter's life. Even so, the movie only showed part of the truth. Richard and Agnes insisted on leaving out details that showed how painful it was for Karen to try to win her mother's love, and how the family was fighting with each other. They didn't want to show the sad truth behind the lights because they wanted to keep the image of a beautiful Karen on stage. Richard Carpenter took care of his sister's memory, even though he didn't want to face the pain of his loss at first. Over many years, he worked hard to fix up, re-release, and remaster the Carpenters' records so that new fans could enjoy the emotional depth and musical brilliance of their work. Their music not only lived on because Richard loved it, but it also shone brightly again, going beyond the limits of time. Richard not only kept their music alive, but he also started telling little-known stories about what happened behind the scenes. He told an interviewer not long ago that many people didn't know much about Karen. She wasn't just a voice like an angel, she had a lot of pain inside her and was very intense. From the everyday quiet times to the stresses of performing in public, Richard gave an honest and deep look into the special bond between the siblings, who were both very good at working together musically, and as people who can help each other feel better. When Richard finally revealed a long-running rumor, it may have been the most shocking thing he said. Went through a lot of stress from her family, the music business, and herself. I saw her change over time, but none of us knew how bad the problem was. We may have missed the chance because it was too late. Richard's work to honor Karen's memory reached a moving high point when her solo album came out in 1996. Karen finished this project in 1979, but it was never made public while she was alive. The record was a sad look at the artistic path she might have taken if things had gone her way. Every song on the album showed her personal problems and hopes, showing a more grown-up and risky side of her music that she never got to fully explore. Richard admitted it. Karen was never given the chance to be herself. She wanted to break away from the picture people had of her and try new things with music, but she was stopped. She might have had a different life if her solo record had come out while she was still alive. Karen Carpenter died in a tragedy that has never been fully healed, but her legacy goes on in every note and melody that has touched millions of hearts. Her voice is still an unmistakable star in the world of music, from soft love songs to hauntingly sad ballads. How do you feel about Karen Carpenter's rough journey? What Richard told you about her changes, how you feel about her? Leave your ideas below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more untold stories.